Ugh.
Um, yeah, I think I told you guys my fantasy team shouldn't suck, but man, it sucks.
Exactly how I feel about mine. I'm like, mine shouldn't be like this bad, but it is.
It is.
I guess I'm different from you guys. I look at mine. I felt good after the draft, but now I'm like, yeah, no, this team sucks. Like, I deserve to suck. My team's just bad.
I just remember 3 or 4 years ago, like the first, 4 or 5 seasons we did our fantasy league, I would start strong every year. And since then, I'm in last place like week 2, 3, and 4 every year, and I slowly work my way up. But
Well, you deserve it. You left frickin' Pittman in your lineup.
dude, sorry, I'm a busy person, and somehow
That's
they
right,
haven't
you
managed to
sorry.
make notifications for when your players get put on injured reserve. And it's not like it would have made a difference anyway.
All right, I'm just looking out for you, man. Don't want the league trying to kick you out, saying like, "Hey, Thomas doesn't fill his roles."
Yeah, I dropped the ball, but either way, still sucks.
Yeah.
We got pwned.
But should we just talk about, dude? There's some. Okay, all I gotta say is I think this is one of those pivotal years where, every year things get mixed up as far as teams doing good and stuff like that. But I feel like the league's really taking a flip flop in a lot of areas. A lot of divisions are different than they were last year, and especially 2, 3 years ago.
Some things are different. Some things are exactly the same.
Yeah.
Depends on where you look.
Yeah. The Chiefs. Sorry, buddy. It's the Chiefs dynasty.
That's true. And the Rams, I would say.
I think the Rams are still good, but I think they're kind of below everyone's expectations at this point.
True, but I don't think anyone in the division, maybe the Cardinals, can challenge them, but besides that.
I think the 49ers. I think if anyone's going to challenge the Rams, I do think the Rams could easily sail away winning the division, but if anyone's going to challenge them, I think it's going to be the 49ers.
Really? I don't think the 49ers are that good. Garoppolo, Lance, whoever's behind center, I think that the Niners are not that good. I mean, they're about like what they've been, like they hang around. Obviously, they made it to the Super Bowl, but I don't know. I think even that year they weren't that good, to be honest. I think they just happened to
team because they somehow just managed to get far in the playoffs. Like, the only reason people are talking about them right now is because of their past success. They got to the NFC game last year, and they made it to a Super Bowl a couple of years ago. But, like, no one's drooling over their roster
I'm not drooling, but I think their roster is pretty solid. And they've got a lot of depth.
It's solid, but it's not like, I don't know.
That's the thing. The Rams have all the stars in our division right now, besides Kyler Murray. It's all Rams. They've got Nick Bosa, Deebo Samuel.
Yeah, I mean, those are recognizable names, but they're not like household names.
Right, and Deebo Samuel's not. Deebo Samuel had a good year, but he's not. I wouldn't consider him an elite wide receiver.
Dude, he was like
he was
elite last year, but in a weird way,
because he was a weird gadget receiver where they would use him as a faux running back and just a jack of all trades. And he had a good year, but he's not. He's not Devontae Adams or something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I agree.
They're just really well coached.
Yep.
And they've got guys. They're a team full of role players. So, and they all fill their roles really well. But no one's like a superstar. They got superstars, a few, but as far as the offense goes, it's just like a bunch of guys that just do their job.
Yeah.
Sometimes, apparently, sometimes you make it into the Super Bowl with that, though.
Sometimes you do, man.
Right there is Tom Brady and a bunch of role players.
Yep.
And it works. It worked for them for 20 years, so.
That's true. But I guess I would just say Jimmy Garoppolo's no Tom Brady, which is why they made it to the Super Bowl, but they didn't beat Tom Brady to win that. Oh, no, was that against the Chiefs?
Against the Chiefs.
Yeah, I was thinking of
He's no
Goff
Patrick Mahomes
lost to
either.
Tom Brady. Yeah, back then I thought the Rams were almost like the 49ers when Goff was there. You know, it was like they were good. They had pieces, but until they got Stafford, then it was like, now you're a real team.
Right.
Anyway, but yeah, I would put the Rams. I'm still putting the Rams above the Niners. I'm putting the Cardinals. They got question marks. Look, we got lots of games to talk about.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the good ones. Did anyone besides me watch the ending, the second half of Cardinals Raiders?
I saw parts of it. I didn't watch the game live. I watched it after the fact.
Okay. This is one I got to watch live. And starting in the fourth quarter, you know. All I know is Raiders were demolishing the Cardinals, and then, man, just Kyler Murray did some stuff in the fourth quarter. He had started to make some plays, and then he had a 2-point conversion where he ran for 85 yards in that 2-point conversion. Like,
dude, it was a 21-second play.
Yeah, it was just ridiculous. Like watching him, I was amazed there was no holding penalty at any point during the whole thing.
Oh my gosh, dude!
Yeah,
I mean, it's really cool, but if I were an offensive lineman, I would be pissed at plays like that. Dude, they've got to be exhausting for those guys. And then like just trying not to foul.
It looked like it was the defensive linemen that were pissed, man. Like,
dude, that's the thing. No one even got close to him after his first little juke. He had so much time.
Yeah, they would like make a move and he would juke and they'd be like, okay, no. Like, I'm done. And then he just ran it in. And then they took it to OT. I mean, crazy plays and got the win with a defensive fumble recovery. But look, it was a crazy game to watch, and we're going to talk about more crazy games that happened this weekend for sure, because it was a crazy game, but it was, with everything else that went on, it was probably like not even in the headlines for people of crazy games, which is nuts. But I'll say this. I think Cliff Kingsbury, coach of the Cardinals, might be the second worst coach in the NFL right now.
Right above who, Parker?
Oh, not right above. He's miles above the worst head coach. He is like, that's not even close. But he's pretty bad, I would say. I know Cardinals fans, by and large, don't like him very much, don't trust him. And the team looked really bad. Somehow, I think, Kyler Murray just took the wheel. And literally, it was like all the Kyler Murray show. It was pretty funny. But all that to be said, I do think the Cardinals are missing probably a few too many pieces right now, at least with DeAndre Hopkins gone, to really... Yeah, he'll come back week 7. Well, they'll have to win some more games, because right now they're getting pushed. They got beaten up by the Chiefs, and it looked like it was going to be the same exact thing with the Raiders until Kyler Murray just did his thing. But you can't rely on that. That's not a weekly recipe for success.
Right. I agree. I think Kyler Murray is saving Cliff Kingsbury's job right now, and I don't even know how he got a head coaching job, because he wasn't like that impressive as a college coach. So, yeah, I agree with what you're saying.
Yeah, absolutely.
And yeah, I think we all know who you're talking about as far as who is the worst.
Yeah, that's just like really quick. Just get that over with because like I don't even want to. I can't dwell on it too long. It's so bad, man.
Yeah.
Look. I don't care if it's your first game or your second game head coaching in your career. It should not be that bad. Especially having been an offensive coordinator before, albeit it was for the Packers, so he kind of was an offensive coordinator. But dude, it's bad. I think he should be out next week.
It has been, I was thinking about today, and there's been worse starts from coaches as far as teams' performance wise, like how they do in their first 2 weeks, record, score, whatever. But I have never seen more mistakes that are clearly just the head coach. And I have personally never seen a bigger embarrassment of a head coaching job in the history of the NFL ever.
I think you're right there. It's like it's embarrassing for the whole organization.
It's embarrassing for the NFL. I think it literally makes the entire league look bad. It's atrocious. It's like I can't believe that after what happened on Monday Night Football in Week 1, that he would actually top himself the following week, but he did. In this game, just to sum up some of the things that were just no excuse things. First of all, the delay of game penalties were racking up. So many. And even when we don't get delay of game, we're snapping the ball, with 0, 1, or 2 seconds on the clock at most. It got so bad that, and I was watching it live, as Denver, this is in Denver, right? They were counting down the play clock the entire fourth quarter. Like, from 10, they'd be the whole stadium 10, 9, 8. I was like, I've never heard anything like it in my life.
Dude, that's beautiful. I love that so much.
I loved it too. I was like, and it actually seemed to help too, like waiting for the late game. I'm like, it sent a message, right? So it was. I mean, I've never. That doesn't happen in the NFL. Okay, that's literally, as bad as that is, that's the least of it, in my opinion. Probably the second most embarrassing blunder was, and these things all added up, right? Everything was like, of course this happened. We line up in punt formation to receive the punt. Only there's no one back to field the punt, and we have to burn a timeout in the second half. Right. The play calling itself also, that's the thing. Like, these are all like the things that like you're not even like doing your job right. Like, we're not even getting to like actually executing and winning a game. We're just talking about bare necessity, right? At this point, once you get down to like beyond just the complete blunders, the play calling also sucks. Like calling idiotic plays, not giving the ball to our best players. But for me, like, the moment I saw this, I was like, I'm done. Like, I'm not even gonna, like, it's over for this coach. Like, we got the ball on maybe the opponent's 38-yard line, lining up, and then it's 4th and 1, and the coach can't decide whether he wants to go for it or not. Burning clock, looks like the team's gonna go for it. Then they come out, then they kind of like do like, oh, maybe switch back again. And then finally the field goal unit is out there on the field, getting ready to kick the field goal. And the clock's winding down. It's obvious we're not going to kick the ball in time. They choose to not take a timeout. Instead, take the delay of game, knocking us back to, I think, our 43. And then they get the punting unit on there to punt instead of kick a field goal.
Yeah, dude,
At this point in the game, We were down by 3 points. We were down by 3 points. And we literally, because of a blunder, knocked ourselves out of field goal range. And then the other thing that everyone else is pointing out is, well, how come last week in Seattle, the 46-yard line was where you were willing to kick it from? Now it's the 43 in Denver in altitude, and you won't kick it. Okay, that's like there's so many layers to that one play, right? It's like, okay, you were slow to decide. You're indecisive. That's bad. Not only are you indecisive, you're slow, so we're going to have to burn a timeout. Then you choose to not burn the timeout and just take the delay of game. And then you don't say the 4 layers of ineptitude in that one play. So that's at that point, it's like, I can't.
It honestly sounds like when I'm playing Madden with my little brother-in-law. Like,
I don't think the game of Madden would even let him screw up that bad. Like,
you're probably right, actually. Because, dude, that's the thing is like, oh, we're not going to burn a timeout. We're just going to literally foul ourselves out of like kicking territory.
Yeah.
That's retard. Sorry, that's really, really dumb.
It is really, really dumb. Look, I'm like everyone in Denver. I'm hoping it gets better. I guess what my conclusion isn't that he won't get to the point where, he won't be able to get the plays in time and shiz. Like, that's going to happen. But I don't know of a head coach that had this bad of a start that ended up being a great head coach. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I think you can go from here to maybe decent, maybe average, but that's not going to get it done. So that's where I was like, it's not going to work out. I honestly believe I'm calling for it now. He's going to be fired at the end of this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe it. And what tells you a lot too is they're 2 goal line fumbles away from being 2-0, despite the terrible play calling and the terrible decision making. So that just tells you that the talent is there, right? The talent, they're competing despite the worst coaching the NFL may have ever seen in its history.
Because that's the optimistic view. They're down the field.
We can move the ball. We can get yards. What's happening between the 20s isn't even the problem. Like, which is, by the way, as a Denver fan, this is different for us. Like, usually we can't move the ball at all. So I'm like, this is like, it's so crazy. Like, our biggest problem solved. Now we have all these other problems that have come up. So I know I am optimistic about our future and with Russell Wilson. Some people are piling on to Russell Wilson already. And he hasn't looked great. That's true. He hasn't looked amazing. But I really don't think he's had an opportunity to look amazing.
I don't think he's been allowed to do anything amazing.
No.
It's not like he's washed out. He's not that at that age. It's just so odd because for him, I'm sure he's frustrated because usually that's when he plays his best. That's when he makes games, is in red zone, final drives, 4th and long. That's where he thrives, but his coach just isn't allowing him to. Where maybe, if I were to give him any flack, it would probably be like, dude, just ignore him and call plays. Like, make it happen. But that's not his personality. And, I think long run, that's not what you want to do.
Yeah, the last one, the Broncos, terrible head coach. Team can't get going, and we're getting some really unfortunate injuries start of year. We've lost Jerry Jeudy, Tim Patrick, KJ Hamler. What was once supposed to be like a stacked wide receiver room now only has Cortland Sutton. We lost Patrick Surtain in this game. Justin Simmons is on IR, so it's like we're also like bleeding, skill position players. So it's been a rough start. So we're lucky to be 1-1. It's like we're lucky to be 1-1, but also like we could easily be 2-0. We could also be 0-2. Like they all seem like they could equally have happened. Like
it all averaged out, I guess.
Yeah, you're a nice median right now.
Yeah.
It's bad. So no, it's another year of Chiefs Chargers. See who's going to get it.
Right. There's another team that's also lucky to be 1-1 that one of us roots for, and that would be the Dallas Cowboys.
Well, I think, to be honest, all three of our teams are lucky to be 1-1. But
Absolutely.
Like, I don't know how the Cowboys won. I mean, really, it just came down to the Bengals O-line is just that bad, and Micah Parsons is not good.
how's it so bad? It was supposed to be better this year.
I don't know, but I'm like, I don't know. The Cowboys had no business winning that game, and they did. And Cooper Rush even let him down in the fourth quarter for a game-winning field goal. So, like, we won, like, on an offensive 2-minute drill. And I'm just, like, stunned. But I'm not hopeful. But
Yeah.
I think it's more of a story of just the Bengals. Like, Joe Burrow got sacked 9 times in the AFC Championship, or against the Titans, and won.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, they could have won the Super Bowl if it weren't for Aaron Donald, you know, stopping their last drive to go down the field and score. And now, like, the Steelers had their way with them last game, and then the Cowboys ate up the offensive line, and Joe Burrow had, like, 0 time to throw ever. And so now all that not building the O-line and just going out and getting Jamar Chase and going out and getting skill position guys is really starting to bite them in the butt this year.
Yeah.
It's I mean, third year of it being the narrative that, like, they just have no way to protect Joe Burrow, and he's getting killed this year. Like, he's not going to last the year.
Here's the deal, guys. You know, I think this is a serious topic. You know, his rookie contract's going to be up. If you're Joe Burrow, I'm not re-signing, man. I know they made it to the Super Bowl last year. Here's the thing. So Russell Wilson, you know, early in his career and for a long time, basically his whole career in Seattle, he was king of sacks. He got sacked all the time. And yeah, a lot of it was the offensive line. A lot of it was, well, he's extending plays. He's scrambling out of the pocket. You're going to draw some sacks there. Joe Burrow doesn't do that, though. He's a pocket passer. I mean, he's fairly athletic, but he's a pocket passer. His offensive line is just getting mowed over. Day in, day out, every game, 3 years now. They would have to make some, I think, really, really big promises for Joe to stay. Because I think Joe could go to another team that has a good offensive line and, I mean, really thrive. I think he's one of those, he's a future, you know, top tier star in the league if he gets a good team around him and more experience in the league. Really just a good offensive line.
So how much do you credit, though, Austin in particular, like you said, Micah Parsons is really good. Lots of people are talking. The Dallas defense this year it's legit. It's not.
They're solid.
There's an argument to be made. I'm saying that they faced just 2 really good defenses in the Steelers and the Cowboys. Do you put any stock in that being the case, or do you really think this is just an offensive line that's not good?
I think both things are true at once. Micah Parsons is a stud. He might be the best pass rusher in the league.
Yeah.
And it's a shame that the Cowboys are going to waste his career like they did to Marcus Ware. I'm like, this defense is really good. We got Ballhawk, Trayvon Diggs. Linebackers are not the greatest, but serviceable, and a good pass rush. And the Dallas defense, and Dan Quinn's a great defensive coordinator. And so I think that did have a lot to do with it. But I do think, though, that I don't see many defensive lines that can't harass Joe Burrow going forward. in the rest of the season.
He has no time in the pocket.
So yeah,
It's literally like half a second, and he's already like, I got to get rid of this.
Right. Like, to put in perspective, case on the offensive side of the ball of the opposing team, he's faced Mitch Trubisky and Cooper Rush, right? And they've worked an overtime loss to the Steelers, and then a last-minute field goal against the Cowboys to lose. Now they're 0-2. Imagine if a quarterback that's actually a starter, is playing on the other side. The Bengals will be getting killed with all the turnovers and all the yardage they lose. Like, when they face their team that actually has like a quarterback that knows a thing or two about a thing or two, like is actually like a solid starter, a borderline Pro Bowler even, like these scores won't even be close if they can't move the ball, and they're getting in third and long situations all the time. Like it's gonna be tough sledding for the Bengals going forward, I think, this year.
As crazy it is too, though, another storyline I'm hearing some people, a little bit, say, are we possibly going to see a Cooper Rush, pull a Dak Prescott to Dak being the new Tony Romo? Like, is that even a possibility?
If it was 2014, I would say yes. But Cooper Rush has been the backup, has been on the Cowboys roster for like 10 years. Like, I don't think so, man.
Yeah. He's been
on the roster for a long time. And, Dak Prescott beat him out. Cooper Rush has been on the team longer than Dak. And I liked him early when he was Romo's backup, even though he was behind Brandon Weeden and Matt Castle. I thought his play style is a lot like Tony Romo, but he's not. He's more like Taylor Heineke than Tony Romo. Like I wouldn't put any stock in going forward with Cooper Rush at this point. But I'm excited to see if he can win more, man. If they win with Cooper Rush, Dak's definitely going back in if they do. But it'd just be nice to know, that we're still in contention. I'm not holding on to much hope that the Cowboys have any chance of going to the playoffs or winning the division. But
especially when you got the Eagles doing what they did on Monday night against everyone's team. Everyone seemed so high on the Vikings this offseason with their new head coach and their new offensive scheme, but they just got whipped by the Eagles, and now lots of people are saying the Eagles are the best team in the NFC in the whole conference.
I watched a good amount of the Eagles game. Jalen Hurts can ball, man. He's a super unique quarterback, But it's hard because I wouldn't really compare him to like a Kyler Murray or a Lamar Jackson. He's kind of his own brand as far as his play style and stuff, but it's that super agile, quick decision making and scrambling and stuff. But I know, like, his criticism his first year was his throwing accuracy and stuff like that, but I kind of feel like he could have like a Lamar Jackson improvement year because he had a lot of super accurate passes over the weekend. Obviously it's early to tell, but he's looking pretty prime. He's definitely, I think, earned his spot as the Eagle starter for a while if they want to keep that offensive play style.
I mean, a game like that earns you some time, that's for sure. And I wasn't even sure at the end of last year if the Eagles were going to stick with Jalen Hurts through the offseason.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I wasn't convinced. I'm still not hopping on the Jalen Hurts bandwagon, or definitely not one good game. I guess he's had 2 solid games, but this was the real coming out party for this year at least. Still, doesn't convince me. But I will say the Eagles look much improved on both sides of the ball. Like, their defense is solid, and man, the Vikings, they looked unstoppable. I mean, Justin Jefferson looked unstoppable in particular week 1. And week 2, they couldn't get anything going. I know, man, I think Kirk Cousins had a couple interceptions at least.
Yeah.
And, but I don't know. The other thing, too, why you can't get too excited is it's Kirk Cousins in prime time, right? Like,
dude, there was one interception I remember seeing that was like, dude, what? Like, there was no purple there at all.
There comes a point where, like, these things aren't just like things people laugh and joke about, right? Like, these are real. Like, he never wins in prime time ever.
It's a pattern. It's a pattern that tells us, that it's true. Especially now that he has the new coach, Kevin O'Connell, like a new coach, new system. Well, the one, I guess he was on the Redskins with him when he was there. And so a familiar system, but and still having the same struggles. And that's when you were like, it's a Kirk Cousins problem. But I will say, like, the Eagles, which isn't not a hot take, was my pick to win the NFC East. I didn't expect Jalen Hurts to look this good, because I do think he's more of a poor man's Lamar Jackson, and we all know Lamar Jackson's limitations, and I think Jalen Hurts has the same limitations and maybe even a lower ceiling. But I think that we all know that Lamar is capable of winning an MVP and playing at that caliber level and winning a lot of games in the regular season. So I think that the Eagles have the roster and they have that Philadelphia toughness. They play really tough. They play with a chip on their shoulder, and I think they play their strengths. And so I think I don't know if they're the best team in the NFC, but they're certainly the best team in the NFC East, and they're certainly a team that can win a playoff game or two. But yeah, I don't think Jalen Hurts' ceiling is much higher than Lamar's, if at all higher.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I would.
All we can conclude right now is if he keeps playing the way he has for the last 2 games, we could all be wrong. But I don't know if I see that.
He was near unstoppable last night. So yeah, if he keeps that up, he's going to get his MVP this year. But as good as he did, just like in their college days, he was outshined by former
Alabama
quarterback teammate Tua Tagovailoa himself in the game that no one can stop talking about.
Yeah.
I think this was the definitive. This was week 2 of the NFL game of the week. The unbelievable Dolphins comeback against the Ravens in Baltimore. This was one I saw the highlights of, and I've seen lots and lots of highlights because they're everywhere. Man, the only thing I can't remember is how many touchdowns did Tua score 4 touchdowns in the fourth quarter?
Yes.
6 total, right? And 4 in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, that's right. Oh my!
Tyreek Hill and what's his first name? Waddle.
Jalen Waddle.
I knew somebody's name that Austin didn't. What?
Tyreek Hill and Tyreek Hill 2.0 on the same team.
Dude, seriously. Yeah. And we were all saying this though, right? Over the offseason, we were all saying, dude, they're fast and they're good, and that's exactly what they're proving to be, right?
I think they're being utilized how they should be utilized. I had my doubts about their coach, Mike McDaniel, because he just looked like a guy that fell out of Google cubicle and became a NFL head coach. But like he's taken Kyle Shanahan's system, and he has faster guys, and they use Tua a lot like they use Jimmy, and he just distributes the ball. Mm-hmm. And they got clever plays, and they got fast guys, and it works for them. And Tua is a better quarterback than Jimmy. I mean, he went to Alabama, so he got recruited by a much better school. And I think that the acquisitions and the head coach bringing in a system that works for a guy with Tua's skill set is really working out for the Dolphins right now.
Yes, you're absolutely right. And I think what has everyone going nuts about this game in particular, besides of course anytime anyone in this league scores 4 touchdowns to overcome a deficit and win a game in the fourth quarter, I think what has people truly going nuts is no one knew this was even in the range of outcomes for Tua Tagovailoa. It was you see Aaron Rodgers do this, it's an amazing game. You even see some Jalen Hurts. I feel like I would have been less shocked by Jalen Hurts doing this than Tua, but we had never seen Tua do anything like this. He was considered up until now kind of a game manager prospect.
Yeah.
And he took this game over with the help of 2 extremely talented receivers and some good play calling. And one thing no one seems to talk about is a defense that let them score without letting Baltimore answer throughout the entire fourth quarter, outside of one field goal that they went and scored again. So crazy game. And just to really quick get this in there, it's really, really painful to see a first-time head coach with the Dolphins do this when we are dealing with what we're dealing with in Denver. Okay, that's all I'm going to say about that. It hurts.
I'm glad you brought up defense because that usually never gets brought up in comebacks. All of Brady's, the defense didn't do anything. It was Brady doing everything. But, I was going to make a different point, though. But I have forgotten. Yeah, never mind. So that's the point I would make.
If you think of it, bring it up. What you got, Thomas?
I just think it's kind of a weird predicament I'm in as far as my opinion on Tua. I texted you guys joking hey, maybe I wasn't so wrong about Tua. But it's still thinking of him, it's this weird anomaly where I'm yeah, but I think the big thing with Tua is we, as a game manager and a player like that, we can't trust him to make clutch quarters and comebacks and stuff. But then it's that's exactly what he just did in a blockbuster way. So I just feel I need to see it one more time, and then I'll be okay, Tua's better than we thought. But right now I'm just, I don't know.
Well, from what I saw, what I highlights
was that we weren't allowed to see it last year.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Was always coming in to save his butt when they got down.
That's a really good point.
Before he was even allowed to make clutch plays, and that's why everyone was questioning it. I think I think people wouldn't be questioning Tua that much if Ryan Fitzpatrick didn't come in as a closer in the fourth quarter.
So weird.
If the big question is we weren't even allowed to see it, and so you have to question, the ability if the head coach that sees him at practice all the time doesn't have the confidence in him and rather go with a journeyman quarterback all the time to bail him out. So we never really got to see him have an opportunity to do it last year.
Yeah.
That's true. And what I'll add to this is, kind of like the Jalen Hurts to a degree, this was a great week. We need to see more from Tua Tagovailoa, but the fact that he can do this at all,
yeah,
that it's possible with him, shows something that we didn't know about Tua. That's very impressive. Because there's a lot of quarterbacks in this league who they just can't. And I'll say and what I'll say that is the throws I saw him make, I mean, they were deep passes and they were accurate, but they were, for the most part, wide open receivers.
Yeah.
You know, Tyreek Hill kept getting, taking the top off the defense. Jalen Waddle, same thing, like getting tons of yards after the catch. I didn't see any picturesque, like put the ball the only place it can go sort of throw. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Which, from some of the best quarterbacks, that's what I feel like something they need to have in their skill set is make like the exact difficult pinpoint throws. And that's not something we learned from Tua, but what we did learn, in my opinion, is we knew he could be accurate with the ball. Tyreek Hill told us in the offseason he's more accurate than Patrick Mahomes, whatever that means. But he can throw the ball accurately. But I think more importantly, the mental fortitude of going in that fourth quarter situation and continuing to fight to get your team there. That's what I find to be extremely impressive. That he kept going through that. It's impressive.
And that's what we've said too is a game manager. And I think that's the epitome of being a game manager is finding the open guys. Like that's, if you're going to be good at anything as a game manager, it should be doing that, which clearly he's doing. Obviously it's pretty easy when he's throwing to the guys he's throwing, but hey, at least he's not throwing to the tight end,
Everyone always uses game manager as like a derogatory term. Like you can have just a terrific manager who just
throws down. And I agree. I think in the end, I think I've defended him enough to say I have somewhat of a bias of Tua. I'm not a Dolphins fan or anything, but I think just what he's dealt with in Miami so far in his career and having a game like this, that's a cool story. That's exciting. I hope he runs with it and he thrives.
Well, one thing's for sure, like no one, the Dolphins aren't dark horse like coming out of nowhere to anyone now. Like if that was them greatly overexceeding expectations, the expectation has shot through the roof for this Dolphins team, which I'm not so sure they're going to be ready to rise to that occasion this year. When we have the likes of Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills, who, look, to my eyes, through 2 weeks, that team is virtually unstoppable. Like, it's really crazy seeing what they're doing right now. Like, with all the hype they had, too, which, Thomas, he owned up to his bad bet a year earlier, and Josh Allen looks really determined to make Austin pay for doubting him yet again, because so far I don't know.
I'm not going to back down. I conceded he's elite because you can't not concede that, and the Bills are very good, probably the best team in the AFC, but when you're that good, shiz happens, man. Shiz happens.
It's true, dude. It's true.
That is true. Well, there's one thing I know. There's only one thing I know through 2 weeks, and that's Austin will not be proven right any earlier than January. That's
yeah.
There's no winning that call in the regular season.
They're definitely going to the playoffs. They're definitely going to make a deep run in the playoffs. But shiz happens, man.
It's the way Austin's right is if they come up short again and they don't make it, or that's where you can be right. And there's a lot of season to go, but I don't think I've seen a more complete first 2 games from almost any team.
Yeah.
Because the thing with them that's truly scary is, Josh Allen and the offense, look, nothing you can do. They're pretty much going to score for the most part, but the defense is frightening. I have not seen Von Miller rush the passer like this since February of 2015 against Cam Newton. I mean it. Not a single game since then has he looked this dominant. It's been really, really crazy, and they got other playmakers too. It's nuts.
I'm still taken back by week 1 against the Rams. their first drive of the season, they looked like they had it figured out, like it was late season. You know what I mean? They didn't miss a beat from last year, and in fact, they got better. Man, maybe it's those Bills fans and all their generosity, and it's finally paid off. They get to be more optimistic than they have been since the early '90s, baby.
And depending on who they're up against, though, there's not going to be that many people that are going to be rooting against the Bills getting a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I was going to say when I was switching allegiances. I was like, the Bills have the best fan base, bar none, not even close.
Yeah.
There's no fan base that deserves a Super Bowl. Buffalo Bills, and honestly, and they remind me of the undefeated Patriots team, where they were blowing everybody out in September and in October. And then they had a few close ones in November, December, but for the most part, they were still blowing people out even then. But what's different is, people actually like the Bills, and the Patriots started that season with the whole Spygate scandal, so everyone had a bad taste in their mouth, and people were tired of the Patriots already because they already won 3. But, offensive defense, they have the Brady-Moss connection of that year, Allen and Diggs, stacked on defense. They just are going to overwhelm pretty much anybody they're going to face this year. I can't see them losing in the regular season. I know they're going to play the Chiefs. I don't know if the Chiefs are ready in the regular season. All I know is, they're clearly the best team in the AFC. I just know shenanigans happen in the playoffs.
Yeah.
That's all.
I hear
And shenanigans do happen.
Just like the Bills that looked unbeatable.
Absolutely. In fact, I feel like it's almost bound to happen in one way or another.
Because when the media loves you that much, and the universe just serves up humble pie, the universe starts to conspire against you when you get that good.
But that's a huge.
No one doubts you.
That's a huge part of the NFL, though. That is kind of like an unnoticed thing, but that's what the NFL is. It's adaptability, because crap happens, and the best teams adapt well, and they've got depth in their roster. It's not just having stars; it's having depth in your rosters. And
they do. They have depth too.
Here's maybe the only weakness I see, quote unquote weakness, because it's very hidden and mostly by Josh Allen, is they're probably the running backs. They, not to say that their running backs aren't good, but they don't have a guy. You know what I mean? They have this combination of Singletary, Moss, that they switch between, but they don't let any of them get into a rhythm, and no one that anyone's super afraid of, which could bite them more as the season goes on. But the offense is so good, you hardly notice it right now. But
yeah, it's true though. Running backs, most of them need to get in a rhythm. They need to run it, a lot in a quarter, or a lot in a game, or even multiple runs in a row, and they get into their rhythm where I don't see a Bills running back even getting that opportunity in most circumstances.
So I would say, to their credit though, for that weakness, Von Miller's obviously the greatest improvement acquisition-wise, but as far as play calling goes, their biggest improvement is they have been more committed to running with their running backs than they were last year. Josh Allen was their leading rusher.
Yeah,
they're
that's true.
going to hand the ball off to them and committing to using their running backs to set up. And I think that's been a huge difference in setting up their offense and letting Josh Allen shine in other areas. So they don't let him get into a rhythm, but they are more committed to at least giving it to the running back more often than they were last year. And so their weakness has gotten better. So
yeah,
that's a really good point. I'm telling you right now, my AFC Championship prediction is definitely Bills Chiefs.
Through 2 weeks, it looks like a good call. No doubt about it.
Yeah.
My NFC
Chiefs-
prediction, I have no idea.
The thing that we're that the Chiefs have a disadvantage of as far as beating the Bills is they don't punch you in the mouth like the Bills do. They're not as physically aggressive as the Bills are. And I think the Bills, that kind of thing can really mess up the finesse style that the Chiefs play with. And so I think the Chiefs could really, really struggle this year against the Bills.
Yeah, I think so too. Last year, I know the Bills whooped on the Chiefs in Arrowhead during the regular season, that is.
Yeah.
So I think they have a game coming up in the near future. I would have to look at the schedule to know when. But real quick, I'm just going to go over some things that have just little snippets from games, and you guys decide what you want to talk about.
Sure.
How about another fourth quarter comeback? The Jets coming back and beating the Browns. That was a crazy game. Another almost comeback, but also a surprising win. The Lions beat the Commanders, and they were whooping up on them, and Carson Wentz almost made it a game at the end there. The Jaguars shut out the Colts. 0 points scored by the Colts. I would like that'd be fun to talk about. I was telling people, man, I didn't get why everyone thought Matt Ryan was such an upgrade over Carson Wentz. I really didn't get it, given how Matt Ryan has looked these past few years.
I understand where you're coming from, and Matt Ryan probably is washed, but this is a pattern for Frank Reich.
Mm-hmm.
Is for the past 3 years that he started there, I think they went 0-5, maybe like 1-5 the next year, and they start so slow every year with Carson Wentz, Phillip Rivers, and with Matt Ryan. All 3 of those years, I think they lost their first 5 games, and for 2 years in a row, and then they're on pace to do that again this year. I think it's a Frank Reich's coaching slow problem, and the Jaguars do have the Colts number because they did keep them from the playoffs last year.
Oh, that's right.
So there might be a weird just personnel scheme mismatch with that matchup in particular too. So I think there's a lot more factors than just Matt Ryan being washed, which is probably totally true too. But I think the Colts' problems run a little bit deeper than Matt Ryan and a Carson Wentz swap.
I think you're right about that. I will also go down, if I'm calling one shot, it's going to be that I think the Jaguars are actually going to be contenders, playoff contenders this year. I think they can push to win the division, actually. I think Trevor Lawrence, yeah, anyone can in that division.
Division in first place at 1-1.
Yeah, it's true. I will say I think the Colts are going to get better than the start, like they also have done in previous seasons. They improve, get their stuff together. But I think the Jaguars, I think Trevor Lawrence is going to have one of those sophomore seasons where he's like, oh yeah, this guy actually is going to be something in the NFL.
Yeah.
But what about the Lions, guys? Are the Lions good now?
I like how good they are, but
Yeah.
I think they're still a year or 2 away.
I think they just got one of their 4 wins this year just earlier on.
I don't agree with that. I think the Lions, I'm not saying they're great, but I think they're going to be, I think they could win 8 games this year. I think they're pretty solid. They have a solid offensive line, a game manager who, like everyone's favorite Jimmy Garoppolo, took a team to the Super Bowl and had a shot to win it.
Yep.
Again, and you guys know I'm not a golf lover by any stretch of the imagination, but that's in his capabilities, and they got playmakers, man. Amon-Ra St. Brown, he might have
He's good.
Justin Jefferson,
Huh?
Cooper Kupp, that level of a season, because he's looking great. And DeAndre Swift is one of the best runners of the football, I think, in the NFL right now. And I think they're actually going to be something. I think, from being like really good, Austin's right. I don't think that's this year, but I don't think that this win is going to be one of 2 or 3 or whatever. I think they can get some wins this year.
I think they can win 8 games. I think that's reasonable expectation. I think that's their ceiling, but yeah, I think 8 games is totally within their control.
Man,
I think they can sweep the Bears.
Yeah.
They could probably do it with the Vikings, and that's 3 wins already. And they've already got that 1 win. They definitely. I don't know what AFC division the NFC North plays, but I mean 8 games with that talent and where they're at right now is really good. So,
and 8 games for that franchise that's a big improvement.
Will be very satisfied.
Losing Matt Stafford. So
Yeah. What about the Giants, guys? Are the Giants good?
That's a team that I'm gonna definitely pump the brakes on a little bit.
I'd say
on all
actually.
Yeah, I don't know. They barely escaped the Panthers, and I think the Panthers are bad. I mean, I think everyone thinks the Panthers are pretty dang bad.
Yeah.
The Giants, I just don't think Daniel Jones can hang when things get really tough. I really don't think it's possible. Daniel Jones is one of those quarterbacks that I think, give him the weapons, give him the coach, put him exactly where Tua Tagovailoa was, and he could not do that, in my opinion. I just don't think he could.
Yeah, I don't know if he's as accurate as Tua. I think Brian Daboll took the Giants job because he saw him as another Josh Allen project. Because Josh Allen, too, coming out wasn't super accurate. He was a big dude, a little timid. His first playoff game, he got a little overwhelmed at the end against the Texans and lost. And I think that I'm not saying that Daniel Jones is Josh Allen, because I don't think physically or even mentally he's there. But I think under Brian Daboll, taking him in as a project, I think that he can get better, but I think it might be too little too late for Daniel Jones, because at least Brian Daboll got Josh Allen as a rookie, whereas Daniel Jones is already 3 years in. And so it might be too little, too late for this project for Brian Daboll to flourish before the ownership might give up on Daniel Jones. But I don't think Daniel Jones is as incapable as you're saying, Parker. But I don't think he's ever going to be elite.
I don't think there's anything he does that stands out. He's like a Mario in like Smash or Mario Kart. Everything is just average straight down the board.
Well, let me give you this, Austin. The good old Kirk Cousins test. Would you rather have Daniel Jones as your franchise quarterback or Kirk Cousins?
In 2022, Kirk Cousins certainly. As
in 2022, meaning looking forward from this point on, you think Kirk Cousins has a brighter future?
No, I think Kirk Cousins has capped where he's at. I think Daniel Jones is a better athlete, and I don't think he's a better thrower of the football. It's tough to say. I don't know, because he doesn't have Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen. He doesn't have Tyreek Hill and Waddle. So that's tough. All I know is I agree that the Giants are lucky to be 2-0, and the Titans are worse than they were last year, and the Panthers are bad. So there hasn't been a true test, and that they were both close games. I would say I would only rather have Daniel Jones just because he's younger, but I think, like, if I was a coach, I wouldn't bank on him being my quarterback for much longer if I was the coach of the Giants, just because I think the ownership might get fed up with him if, his rookie contract's getting close to being done, and he hasn't produced much. I think if Brian Daboll got him as a rookie, I think we'd see a much better Daniel Jones than we've seen so far in his career. He's just had terrible coaching. So that can kind of ruin a quarterback.
Here's the other thing that I think can kind of ruin a quarterback in a weird way. I feel like Daniel Jones might have had a better shot of succeeding if he hadn't have been drafted so high. Like, I think a lot of people think, I don't know, and I could be wrong. I will admit I have no real evidence, but I think the Giants could have waited and got him in the second round. Heck, maybe the third round of the draft. But because they took him where they took him, and everyone laughed that franchise to scorn and said, what a whiff of a pick before he even took a snap, I think he's been behind the 8 ball since the moment he arrived in New York. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whereas if he was looked at as more of a, like, okay, not as high capital, because those guys picked there are expected to be franchise-changing guys, like, usually, like, week 1 sometimes.
Right. So, take into comparison Russell Wilson, who was drafted in the third round and had immediate success and was clutch from the get-go. Like, I don't think Daniel Jones has that clutch gene that Russell Wilson has. So, I mean, but Russell Wilson's expectations weren't super high, and then he exceeded them. Whereas Jones, I think, is a worse, taller, less clutch version of Russell Wilson, and but has the mountain of expectations and didn't have the Legion of Boom or Marshawn Lynch. Well, he's got Saquon Barkley for 3 games, but I mean, I think that he's a more athletic Kirk Cousins and a poor man's, like, I'm talking homeless person's Josh Allen.
Yeah.
Switch Daniel Jones and Josh Allen. Josh Allen gets drafted to the Giants. I think we're looking at him in a similar light as Daniel Jones. I think the Bills just developed him really well, and they've built around him a lot better and had more consistent coaching. I think, though, that Josh Allen's raw talent is a lot higher than Daniel Jones, and I think he's a lot more mentally tough than Daniel Jones is. But they're still. I think that they're both similar build projects. That one was able to reach his potential, and the other had just bad luck with coaching. I think Daniel Jones could have been, his ceiling is probably similar to, I think he could have been Baker Mayfield-ish.
That's a rough ceiling.
On a Browns roster. Like if he got drafted to a Browns caliber roster.
You think he could have risen to the level that Baker Mayfield was, who he just beat, right?
I think he's better than Baker Mayfield. Honestly, Honest to goodness,
All
I think
things considered, I would take him over Baker Mayfield.
That's a bar that I'm also willing to meet you at.
like I think so. What Baker Mayfield did was break the rookie touchdown record before Justin Herbert did, passing touchdowns, and he won one playoff game, and that's it, right?
Yeah.
I think Daniel Jones. That's Daniel Jones' ceiling.
Yeah. And we gotta remember he broke that record with like just as many interceptions as he had touchdowns, which I think really robs that record from itself.
Yeah.
It's not super impressive.
Yeah.
That being said, I think those are, some of the biggest, I guess, some of the bigger games this week. The Buccaneers were finally able to end the losing streak against the Saints, who have just been terrorizing them ever since Tom Brady arrived.
Yeah. I thought it was funny. I can't remember what I was watching. I think I was watching Good Morning Football this morning or yesterday morning, and they're like, the Bucs finally, Tom Brady finally beat the Saints on the Bucs, and I'm like, well, he did win one other time, right? In a very important playoff game, like the one that actually matters to win the Super Bowl. So,
Yeah.
I love how people just forget, just don't even he hasn't ever beaten the Saints. I'm like, well, he did one time.
There was this one time against this one guy who was playing there. That's a good point.
It's the regular season, but it's the regular season. The game that actually win or go home.
Yeah.
But
it doesn't count because everyone knows Tom Brady ain't losing in the playoffs.
And Sean Payton is no longer the coach of the Saints, so I would take that win with a grain of salt. And Winston did. Started to look like the Jameis Winston that we all know and love.
Yep. Yeah. And that's the thing. When Tom Brady throws a tantrum on the sidelines and is breaking his Surface Pros, dude, they're going to win that game.
Yeah.
That's like his little sideline ritual. Like, all right, I need to win this game. I got to break some stuff.
Yeah.
The only other game was like Packers-Bears, but I mean, that was very predictable. I think the only interesting thing, in my opinion, is just how Aaron Rodgers is just same theme as before. Like, he just doesn't trust his receivers that much, and it's almost like their offensive play style is really morphing into like, yeah, Aaron doesn't want to throw to his guys that much if he doesn't have to.
Look, is it a thing, Austin? Tell me if it's a thing that all Seahawks fans, they just don't like Aaron Rodgers at all. And all Green Bay fans hate Russell Wilson. And they still do now he's a Bronco. That's what I've noticed.
That's fair. I think you're right about that. I don't, of growing up in Washington, know a lot of Seahawks fans. I don't know any that like Aaron Rodgers, so.
Well, I don't disagree with you guys. The point I'm trying to make is Aaron Rodgers is not getting MVP numbers if he plays like this the rest of the season. Not even close.
Yeah, maybe. That game is hard to tell because Aaron Jones had his Aaron Jones game, but the thing with Aaron Rodgers, what's incredible about Aaron Rodgers is that you can say that about him and he can still have all that success. Even last year, he only ever threw Devontae Adams and he still won MVP. There's something to be said about how talented you are when you can be that petty and
still be the best.
Will be the best, Daniel Jones can't do that. So
look, and you're calling it petty. I'm calling it his receivers aren't very good.
That's true.
There's part of it's you're not getting it done. If I keep giving you the ball, we're not going to win. Yeah. You know what I mean? And with a lot of these rookies, I think they have a lot of growing to do. He did, however, give the ball to Sammy Watkins. He spread the ball out kind of to everyone. But, of course, this was a game where the running backs just really
And maybe that's
went
all
off.
it was. If your running back's hot, don't cool him off kind of thing. Dude, that reminds me, I watched this video from the Pat McAfee show where he was telling a story about Peyton Manning back in like 2007 or something. And they just gotten that new rookie wide receiver. Oh, I'm trying to remember his name. I think it starts with a C. It's the guy that was like really good, but then he had that double concussion.
Was it Austin Collie?
Yes, Austin Collie. So it's this story where like, they're winning. It's fourth quarter. They're winning the game. He throws to Austin Collie's rookie season, and Austin, like, instead of diving for it, which he could have easily caught, he just tried to do like this fancy one-armed catch and dropped it. And when they went back to the huddle for the next play, Peyton literally just looked at him and like pointed to the sideline. He's like, okay. So he runs towards the sideline, and they're like, no, you're in. And he like turns around and runs back, and Peyton like kind of like pops up out of the huddle and points to the sideline again. And so Austin Collie just goes out, and I guess him and Pat McAfee were like buddies. So Pat's like, dude, what's going on? He's like, dude, I just got kicked out of the game. Like, I just got benched. He's like, what? By who? Peyton, man. He just benched me. And obviously, like, that's the thing is later on their relationship thrived, and Austin Collie was a fantastic receiver for a few years. And so maybe Aaron Rodgers is just kind of that's how I perceive Aaron Rodgers' situation, and that's kind of what he's doing is like, look, until like I trust you and you guys just aren't there yet kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
None of you guys are my guy yet. None of you are replacing.
I think the Packers will be fine. Honestly, the story for me with that game is more the Bears and like Justin Fields and the coaching. There was that weird 4th and short. I don't know if you guys watched the game, but it was 4th and goal, and they needed a touchdown to get back in the game, and they were in shotgun and did a quarterback sneak from shotgun and stuff like that. And it's like
stupid.
Yeah, it was really stupid. And Justin Fields only, they were down most of the game, and he only threw 15 passes in 2022. He was 11 to 15. And so I'm a little curious on the future of the Bears and Justin Fields, because that's another guy who is athletic, went to Ohio State, had a lot of success there, comes to the Bears, he's the savior. Everyone wanted to bench Andy Dalton for him, and rightfully so, and has really underachieved. And is it the Bears? Is it Justin Fields?
Yeah, it's really hard to
going on.
It's really hard to put your finger on anything right now, just because I feel like we haven't seen Justin Fields' true potential yet. But maybe it's because that potential hasn't been there from the beginning, and the Bears know that, and that's why they're. I don't know.
When you're as bad as the Bears organization is, though, like, yeah, I don't know how they can look at pass on Justin Fields and expect it to be different with anyone else they get. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, who's he? I legitimately don't know. Who's he throwing the ball to in Chicago now that Allen Robinson is gone? Like,
I can't name a receiver that the Bears.
I don't know a single one. I actually don't. I'm looking at the stats real quick, guys, because I genuinely. Okay, yeah, they got Amon-Ra's brother, Equiminius St. Brown.
Okay.
And, some Darnell Mooney's, Cole Kmet. Like, they don't got. They have no one.
Yeah.
It's a bad vibes organization, man. I think people's perception, maybe even in Chicago, is we're not putting it together for Justin Fields. At least how I feel is like he has not gotten anywhere near a fair shake yet.
Mm-hmm.
And he has shown very small flashes of like, okay, last year, like that was pretty good. Not like, I don't think he's done like a whole game of like, wow, this kid can ball.
Yeah.
But, some drives, some throws, some runs too, where I still think Justin Fields' jury is they're not even out yet. They're still watching before they even start deliberating.
Well, that's the thing, is we have no idea. It's like, what if he were on the Dolphins in Tua's place this weekend? Like, with those receivers, would he ball out? Would he be good? We have no idea. After a full season, we have no idea.
And it looks like this year it's going to be murky to tell because they just don't have people. They don't have. Yeah, we'll see. Hopefully, but that being said, the NFL doesn't care that much about fair. They don't care how much of a chance you got. After a while, your time's up. But I think he's got a little bit more, maybe another year. If this year doesn't look good.
I mean, the Bears have a lot of thinking to do if they give up on Justin Fields before the coaching, because like Trubisky now is getting a second chance-ish kind of in Pittsburgh, even though I heard that he's going to get benched and they're going to put Kenny Pickett in now. But like, I don't know. Trubisky was in the exact same situation that Justin Fields is in now. Was Trubisky ever going to be good if he was somewhere else? And then you can ask the same thing about Justin Fields. Like, I don't know. Maybe it's a weird Bears black hole, kind of like how the Browns used to be.
Way, right?
Huh?
It definitely kind of feels that way.
Feel that way, where like you don't recover from. There's some teams you just don't recover from. Like, I can't evaluate Mitch Trubisky now because he was the backup to Josh Allen for a year at the Bills, and now he's 1-1 with the Steelers, and they've got weapons and stuff. And so it's even if Justin Fields left, like, I don't know if like the damage now is too great to overcome having been coached so poorly, or maybe they just don't draft wide or quarterbacks very well, and like so. They just were never going to be good, and just because they don't evaluate talent very well, and that's why Justin Fields fell as far as he did in the draft. I don't know. It's really tough to evaluate Bears quarterbacks.
It is.
You think that may be partly because I think their coaches have been heavy defensive coaches for quite a while now.
I mean, yeah, they fired what's his name?
I was just trying to think of that, and I was like, I don't know.
Bears now.
See, yeah, I have just as much a question. Like, I'm realizing right now on this podcast that I know very little about the Chicago Bears right now.
Too, dude. I just Matt Eberflus. I'm like, who?
Matt Nagy was the coach here. Who's the coach? Yeah. Who'd you say the coach is now?
Matt Eberflus.
Okay.
Eberflus?
Okay. He might be even worse than Matt Nagy.
He might be. I have no idea.
Dude,
he was the defense.
I do not.
He was the Colts defensive coordinator up until this year.
The Bears are a quiet mess.
Yeah, they are.
I mean, I'm just going to come out and say it. Like, in 2022, I think we're just about done hiring defensive coordinators as head coaches. Like, it's just not working out very often.
The whole league is shifting the opposite direction, right?
What did you say, Austin?
I said coordinators.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, who's left? Bill Belichick? Pete Carroll, Sean McDermott.
Okay, Sean McDermott is definitely an example to the
Mike Vrabel. Mike Vrabel. Vrabel.
Vrabel, yeah.
And Salah.
and Mike Tomlin. I think those are the 5 I can name off the top of my head that are defensive coaches.
Salah.
And they're all going downhill. Like, Pete Carroll's not the coach he was. Bill Belichick is proving that if he was ever a good coach, like, he's not really as good anymore. I think you guys are.
And McDermott obviously being the exception to the rule in that group of coaches.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think Mohamed Salah could be someone that can be decent.
Yeah, I forgot about him.
Coming to the Jets, like, dude, he came to the worst team in the league. And even with that, he wasn't doing Kenny Pickett crap. Like, I think given what he's had, he hasn't done too terrible. I don't think his job's in jeopardy anytime soon.
Oh, I think his job, and when you're a Jets head coach, your job's always in jeopardy. And if he has a bad year this year, I think he definitely could be gone. But to be fair,
I wouldn't blame him though. Like, you're right,
better.
he'll be the first to go, but I, as a viewer, wouldn't blame him.
He'll go before Wilson goes, most likely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true.
But that being said, there's kind of a question mark with the Jets organization, shockingly, after 2 weeks of, do we want Wilson back when Joe Flacco just, came back and won the game against the Browns and actually was able to get the ball to some of their talented skill position players?
I think you got to go with your guy, but
could this turn into a Ryan Fitzpatrick Tua Tagovailoa situation?
Dude,
I think. Well, I don't know. This is more of a Trey Lance, Jimmy Garoppolo situation, I think, but I don't know. If they win the rest of their games before Zach Wilson comes back, then I think you got to go with Joe Flacco, Super Bowl winning Joe Flacco. But I mean, like, if he plays well, but they're still losing, or even if they split the games, I think you just got to go back and put Zach Wilson, develop him.
I think that's the thing. Long term, Zach Wilson out of those two is the right answer.
Yeah.
If the Jets this week beat the Bengals, I guess that one might not be, like, if the Bengals weren't looking so nasty. I mean, okay, let's just say this. It doesn't matter how bad a start the Bengals have had. If the New York Jets beat the Bengals, then the Jets fans are going to be going crazy. They're going to be going nuts.
They're 2-1, and they're only a game back. Because the Bills and Dolphins, let's say they win, a game back from first in the AFC East. That's nuts.
It is nuts.
Week 3, that's nuts. That they've won more games than they've lost.
I do not think the Jets organization has the composure to not keep Joe Flacco at quarterback if they're winning games. You know what I mean? Like, they will not.
If they're if they're winning games, I think if Joe Flacco's playing well, but they're still losing, then you put Zach Wilson. Like, if he's he's throwing for, 65% completion percentage and 3 touchdowns, but they're still losing. I don't know why you wouldn't just put Zach Wilson back in there. But, like, if they're winning more games than they're losing, then I think you should just stick with Joe Flacco and, win now, because you don't get that time back. There's not a lot of time to waste. That's the Rams' philosophy. We don't have time to waste developing. Who cares about draft picks? We're living in the now. So that's the winning mentality of today, I guess.
Some picks, man. Let other teams develop your future stars. Like, you don't gotta waste your time with that. Speaking of the Rams,
huh?
Well, sorry. Speaking of the Rams, one of the last, newspaper headlines from week 2: Falcons almost overcome a 28-3 deficit in the second half.
That'd have been amazing had they done it.
So do you think they would have broken the curse?
All over the place if they
I would
had done
love
that.
if they broke the curse. Because you know what? I love Marcus Mariota, but something I actually almost love more than Marcus Mariota is how good the Falcons look in their black uniforms. Those black jerseys.
Yeah, man.
Dude, I was like, when I turned the game on week 1 when they were at home against the Saints, and I was looking, I was like, those are nice uniforms. Holy shiz.
I think the Falcons for a while now have had some of the nicest jerseys in the league.
Coming from a Ducks fan, like, man, he knows some good uniforms. Those are some nice.
Those are some nice uniforms. That might be top 3 in the league. But yeah, I think that'd have been amazing. I like the Falcons, even Mariota or no. Like,
you can't hate on the Falcons.
Hate on the Falcons. I mean,
I can hate on the Falcons.
They never did anything to anyone, man.
they're the least defensive team in the AFC South or the NFC South. But yeah, I mean, a lot of heartbreak has happened there in Atlanta.
They could have stopped Tom from getting another ring. That's what I have against the Falcons. They blew it for everybody. He'd
still have 6. So, like
one less. Anyone you can take away.
In their defense, even in that Super Bowl in that year, it's almost like, hey, we never said we were gonna beat Tom Brady in the Super Bowl. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we went into that game like, well, the Patriots are probably gonna win. And then, like, I think the biggest thing about that game is like the letdown when we were like, dude, the Falcons are actually about to upset the Patriots, and then they didn't. I think that's why it's ingrained in NFL history so hard, because
the 28-3 meme has had incredible longevity.
Dude, like it never dies. I hope it never dies.
11, you never forget.
Yep.
No, I'll remember it till the day I die.
But it came at a time where upsets were happening too, and I think that's also helped the longevity of it, because it wasn't long before that the Warriors blew the 3-1 lead.
Mm-hmm.
Yay. And the Thunder blew a 3-1 lead to the Warriors. And so, it was just one more upset, and everyone was already in an upset frenzy.
Do you remember all those memes where the whole clouds in heaven and they're like, join us,
yeah,
it fit in that perfectly.
Yeah. It synced up to a time where upsets were on the forefront of everyone's mind.
Okay, really quickly, just you mentioning the Falcons uniforms, I thought this year was supposed to be the helmet change where we can have alternate helmet colors, but I haven't seen that at all yet. Is that just never going to happen?
I don't know if it's never going to happen, because in college they can do that.
I thought they got the green light in the NFL this year, and I would have thought everyone would be like,
thought so too.
Take advantage of that.
We're vaguely reading about that as well this summer.
You'll start bringing them out in a future week or something. Who knows?
Yeah.
NFL hype of opening games kind of starts dying down.
Remember when they used to do the color rush uniforms and stuff like that?
Dude, that Seahawks color rush green, dude, some of the best uniforms I've ever seen in the NFL.
I don't know.
The Seahawks green is definitely one color that only Seahawks fans can appreciate.
I love those uniforms. Everyone hates them. I'm like, dude, they're freaking sick, man. I don't get it.
It's too much. If the pants were a different color, maybe I could handle it.
No,
but I'm
dude, I feel like it only works if it's all that green.
Oh, no, dude, I don't think so, man.
I am biased though. I think I would enjoy all uniforms. Jerseys, pants, same color. I think that's how it should be. I'm not a big fan of classic gray or classic white with the jersey. I like it when it's all the same color. That's just me. I
Yeah,
like
the
those
neon
Falcons jerseys
green.
all black, dude. The
I
Jets
used to-
all green.
I used to agree with that. Like in the old Madden games when you could like create teams and make uniforms and stuff, I would match the pants with the colors, with the shirts.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know.
Here's my one.
I've grown out of that phase.
Here's
I think-
my one exception, though, and you'll be flattered, Austin. I do think the classic Cowboys blue with the gray. I don't know why, but I'm like, those are like,
Dude,
those
they
are NFL uniforms, baby.
as far as like classic uniforms go,
Yeah.
dude, they look really good in prime time with the helmets matching the pants, and then you got the dark blue. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Absolutely beautiful.
Yep.
I like the Seahawks uniforms when they're the blue and they got the neon highlights. That's
Mhm.
fine. I thought I used to like the old ones where it was blue on blue. The ones that with the Matt Hasselbeck days Seahawks.
Oh yeah.
And like I saw them after a while of not seeing them, and I'm like, I don't know why I ever thought that looked good. That looks
Yeah, I
pretty
agree. Those are kind of ugly. But dude, that's the other thing. If we ever went back to our roots, like the old classic Seahawks uniforms, I think
Oh, yeah.
those would be sick nowadays.
Oh yeah, the blue and the silver, especially with like the matte helmets now,
Mm-hmm.
really help those kind of looks. Yeah, to bring the Broncos into this, I never liked the monotone Broncos, the blue, and they'd have that orange stripe that goes all the way down. I've never been a fan. I'm glad they went back to having orange jerseys because I think those look better.
Really? I actually love the blue jerseys.
Yeah,
I love the alternate color Broncos jersey.
I don't think the blue's terrible, but I'm with Austin. I do like the orange.
Nice.
Yeah.
I just wish the
Yeah.
NFL would like really not be so traditional when it came to jerseys and stuff like that.
I'm just glad. I'll take that over them selling out to ads.
Yes.
Yeah.
Please, no.
Advertisements on the jerseys that I'm gonna be like, oh my gosh.
Which they already do a little bit. Like some of them do have some.
I mean, they have
things on it.
they got
Like a
the
patch.
the Nike patch and a little bit, but they don't look like NASCAR drivers.
Mhm.
Even soccer,
Soccer's
Yeah.
pretty bad, yeah. But I don't know. I just, in my opinion, like Oregon obviously kind of has connections and stuff, but like they've done it right. Because I have no idea, but I would put money down that Oregon jerseys over the last like decade or more probably have some of the highest sales.
yeah, and because you can get one that you like. Like, there's one for everybody. So the Oregon, 9 times out of 10, whatever they choose to come out with, they look really good. Those guys, they have some.
And I remember there was a period of time, and it was when they were really good and like getting into the national championship. That was like half the hype of games. Is like, dude, what's the combo gonna be, dude?
I think the ones that they have now are even better than the ones those days. Like, they got the O on the back of the helmet, and they got the wings on the side.
That's cool.
They do, like, last year they had some jerseys where it looked like they splattered green paint on their white jerseys.
Uh-huh.
So it was like a splatter.
Dude, I really
I was
like
like-
that. I really like that.
It was really cool looking.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Well, I think we've talked about everything we possibly could. So, what we do now is we turn off the stream and keep talking, and all of a sudden, like, topics are more interesting than...
I thought,
Mhm.
are we out later? Are we gonna...
Yeah, so anyway, have a good week. We'll see you next time.